Hey everyone, it's Argonaut here from The Right Way, and in this video we're going to be looking at the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, which is he's been accused of murdering two people, or murdering or killing two people, and attempted murder of one other person. So this happened during some of the racial riots back in, I think, 2020. And even though it's in America, it has some salient points about what happens when everything becomes political. So let's have kind of hear about the case. This video is mainly for people that haven't heard about Kyle Rittenhouse before. So let's just read about a little bit about the trial and what he's been accused of. So the prosecution has rested its case in the murder trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, who is accused of 2 homicides and another attempted homicide during protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin last year. Rittenhouse, now 18, shot and killed Joseph Rosenbaum, 36, Anthony Huber, 26, and injured Gage Grosskreutz during a racial justice protest on the night of August 25th, 2020. Now, if you remember back to those times, those protests and riots were completely out of control. So you can imagine what anyone who stood in the way of those particular people protesting and rioting must have been feeling at those times. And obviously Rittenhouse has pleaded not guilty. Legal experts say the outcome in the case could ultimately come down to how well the prosecution made its central argument that Rittenhouse was the aggressor of the violence and not just acting in self-defense as he claims. Jesse Gertz, a private defense attorney in Madison who represented Rittenhouse for 9 days before leaving the case, said prosecutors didn't make the case very strongly. I'm just one lawyer, but in my point of view, not particularly well, no. With the trial now shifting to Rittenhouse defense team, there are 3 key moments from the prosecution's case that could prove pivotal. A witness testified that one of the victims went for Rittenhouse's gun. Richard McGinnis, a video producer with the right-wing news site The Daily Caller. So I don't know why they stick right-wing in there. Is it to kind of tell everyone that his testimony is not worth it because he's a right-wing person? So this goes to show you how lefty biased much of the media is in the US. Testified that he saw one of the victims reach for Rittenhouse's gun before being shot. McGinnis said he saw Rosenbaum lunge for Rittenhouse's rifle, at which point Rittenhouse dodged and fired 4 times. Video evidence of the encounter between Rittenhouse and Rosenbaum is sparse, which is why the testimony of McGinnis could be crucial. Kenosha County Assistant DA Thomas Binger suggested there was no way McGinnis could know what Rosenbaum was trying to do as he lunged toward Rittenhouse. Well, what do you think someone's going to do if they're lunging and trying to grab your gun? You're probably thinking they're going to take your gun and maybe shoot you. Of course, we don't know what he's going to think, but we've got to think the worst, right? But McGinnis replied, well, he said F you and reached for the weapon. During his opening statement, Binger also considered that Rosenbaum had been acting agitated and getting into people's faces on the night of the protest, but he sought to underscore a key distinction that it was only Rittenhouse who responded with lethal force that night. But to me, from all the testimony that we've had in the case so far, it really does look like this is a clear case of self-defense. I'm not a lawyer, state that kind of just from a layman's point of view. This seems like a clear case cut of self-defense. The sole survivor testifies that he raised his gun toward Rittenhouse. So if the guy raises his gun, then what's the guy going to do? He's thinking that he's going to get shot, so he's going to fire back in self-defense. Grosskreutz, which is the only surviving victim in the case, took the stand for the prosecution to describe what occurred in the moments before he was shot. But Nicholson Gertz said prosecutors failed to mention during the questioning that Grosskreutz did not tell police he was carrying a Glock pistol at the time, a point that came out in cross-examination. Grosskreutz, a trained medic, testified that when he heard the gunshots that killed Rosenbaum, he ran towards the sound. As Grosskreutz got closer, Rittenhouse was confronted by Anthony Huber and hit him with a skateboard. Rittenhouse then shot and killed Huber. So basically, Anthony Huber hit him with a skateboard, so he was assaulting Rittenhouse first before Rittenhouse fired in self-defense. Grosskreutz told defense attorneys that he had raised his gun and was approaching Rittenhouse at the moment he was fired upon. So he had raised his gun while approaching Rittenhouse, and then Rittenhouse fired upon this guy. So it seems to me, again, it's a case of self-defense. I was never trying to kill the defendant. He said he did not draw the gun with the express intent of using it, but rather to be ready if he felt it was necessary. But again, how is Rittenhouse supposed to know what he's going to do when you pull out a gun and you point it at that particular person? Confrontation between Huber and Rittenhouse. Earlier in opening statements, defense lawyer Mark Richards seized on the confrontation between Huber and Rittenhouse to say that Huber had strung the skateboard in the client in an attempt to separate the head from the body. Prosecutor objected, but the judge overruled. So we can see that there are some quite interesting things being said by the prosecution witness. Witnesses for the prosecution are saying these things which are making it look like Rittenhouse was only acting in self-defense. And a lot of the stuff on YouTube and on the internet seems to be supporting that particular view. Now let's have a look at Fox News, which is more of a central right-wing type news organization, and how they talk about it. So Kyle Rittenhouse trial defense hit it out of the ballpark with Gage Grosskreutz testimony, experts say. Experts say that the argument for Kyle Rittenhouse's legal team that the young man was defending himself when he fatally shot two people was bolstered on Monday by testimony from one of the injured men who acknowledged that he did point his gun at Rittenhouse in the moments before he was struck. Gage Grosskreutz took the stand. He was one of the three people shot by Rittenhouse during a night of destruction and unrest. Rittenhouse's attorneys have argued repeatedly that their client was acting in self-defense and fired his semi-automatic rifle because he was being chased or faced with a gun. Meanwhile, the prosecution has tried to depict Rittenhouse as the person who instigated the events, including by emphasizing that he is the only person to have shot someone during the night of unrest. So this just carries on talking about his testimony. Grosskreutz told prosecutors from the stand that his hands were raised as he approached Rittenhouse and had no plans to fire his handgun. When asked why he did not shoot Rittenhouse first, he responded, "That's not the kind of person that I am. That's not why I was out here." But his testimony unraveled under questioning from the defense. When you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired. It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, then he fired, right? Correct, Grosskreutz responded. He later added that he did not mean to point his gun at Rittenhouse. Doesn't matter if you mean to or not, you did it, right? So when your hands were up, he didn't fire, but when you lowered your gun and aimed it at the guy, then he fired. Seems like self-defense to me. Longtime defense attorney, former New York City prosecutor Julie Rendelman said that the defense hit it out of the ballpark with their questioning of Grosskreutz. Rendelman described the cross-examination or questioning a witness who was called by the other side as a blend of acting and being able to take the questions that you have and put it in a way that the jury is riveted by the way you're asking those questions. She said they were so effective on how he approached Grosskreutz. By the way, it really did destroy the prosecution's arguments with regard to the specific complaint. So here's what the prosecutor looks like when Grosskreutz admits that he only got shot after he drew his gun on Kyle first and then advanced on him. Look at his face planting. Is that beautiful or not? The only reason why they prosecuted this guy is because he is white. He killed some people in self-defense, in my opinion, during the racially charged riots in 2020, and it's a political prosecution, right? Because they know that people won't like it. They don't want to have any more riots, and so they're prosecuting this guy to be able to say, hey, we did all we could. We prosecuted the guy. If he got off, then we weren't, that wasn't our particular fault. But you can see what happens when everything becomes so political. If you're of the wrong race, you could be charged for something which is patently not true in the case of Kyle Rittenhouse. And we have a salient lesson to learn in New Zealand, that we cannot let the left-wing woke agenda infect all parts of our judiciary and police system, because we could end up in a situation like this where prosecutions are being done for political reasons rather than for actual criminal reasons. And in this case, it really does seem like the evidence does not support the prosecution, and it should not have happened at all. If you want some more better detailed analysis on this, there's lots of YouTube videos that I suggest you go and watch if you're really interested by it. I think you should take an interest in this kind of stuff that happens in America, because it will also come to any other country in the world which is infected with the woke left-wing agenda as well. let me know what you think. Are you interested in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial? If you are, let me know what you think of what's happened so far. If you have any comments to make, please make them in the comments section. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, you're welcome to give me a thumbs down. And if you like my content, please subscribe, as it will help the YouTube algorithm to notice my content a bit easier. Anyway, hopefully I will catch you in the next video.